Rich Lowry is the editor of the National Review. I love Rich. He's on this show every week. And he kicks off our guest list on this important Wednesday morning. Rich, how are you, buddy?
Good, Sydney. How are you?
I'm good. I want to read this to you. This is a lady. Her name is Karen. I'm not going to give away her last name. She may not want me to. But she is a big, big fan of the show. Loves me and DMs me on Instagram quite a bit. Nice Jewish lady. And she texts me at 6:55 a.m., Sid, thank you for supporting Israel, but it might be time to stop saying Trump is the best president ever. If this disaster goes through, which it looks like it is, this is bad. He will have sold out the United States to Qatar, not to mention completely screwing Israel, selling his soul to the devil. This will be Trump's ultimate legacy. He's not the only one. Your friend Megyn Kelly is probably happy these days, and plus she interviewed J.D. Vance yesterday. But Mark Levin is saying a lot that sounds like that. So am I. So what do you think is the deal with this Iran deal? And to me, it looks like a lot of the big Trump supporters in America and Israel are going sideways.
I think it's bad. It's disappointing, but I'm not as shocked and outraged as some of my hawkish friends because I don't think we won the war. I think the basic problem was, as you've put it, for weeks and weeks now, he was stuck. So when you're stuck and you need to get out, it's not going to be pretty the way you get out.
So you see, I'm the only one who used that word for weeks and weeks, and some people got offended by that, but you're good at, and how you look back in retrospect, I was right, wasn't I?
Yeah,
stuck.
Totally true. So we didn't win the war because we couldn't take the Strait back from them. Now we kind of vitiated their hold on the Strait somewhat with this escorting that was going on, which is good, but it wasn't anything like the pre-war level. And you just can't go into the height of the summer driving season with gas above $5, which is what we're probably looking at because reserves were beginning to go low that had provided the cushion, so that closure of the Strait wasn't so bad, at least here. So you had to trade the blockade for the Strait, and then you paid them in effect also for opening the Strait, which wasn't great, with these renewed oil sales. Now, I think if you look at the memorandum that's been floating around that seems like it's accurate, the first read, it is horrifying. $300 billion, what? We're giving it what? We're ending sanctions. And then you look at it with sort of a lawyer's eye. Nothing else is agreed to. It could be agreed to, and it could be really bad, but everything's pending a final agreement. Everything's pending progress, whatever that means. Everything's pending a plan, that we haven't seen yet. So I think the worst of this could be yet to come, but may never happen. And I'm kind of guessing that the latter might be the case. So we've reopened the Strait by letting them sell oil and trading the blockade. Not great to let them sell oil again, but some of the things people are most exercised about, I'm not sure they're actually going to happen.
So let me explain this to the audience, because I think you may be right. If Rich Lowry is right, and those things don't happen, which does include loosening sanctions and money to Iran, unfreezing money down the road whenever they, I guess, based on merit, whatever that means, it's so dumb. If you're right, that means that the war is not over, and we are going to go back in there, once again with military force, because something happened where they didn't comply.
Yes, I'm not saying that. I don't think he'll go back in, but I'm just saying they may not get all those benefits because they may not provide concessions that we think are worthy of those benefits.
Well, that's the point. If they don't provide the concessions, see, here's my biggest issue with this deal. Yeah. We'll get to some of the more specifics in a second. We get nothing. I mean, we took out the naval blockade. That wasn't there when the war started, okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, the Strait is open. So what? It was open before. I mean, really, when you look at this, you don't got to be a genius, okay? Everything gets put back right where it was before the war. That's what we get. So we get nothing, in essence. They still have their uranium. I mean, I had a yelling, screaming fight with Mike Lawler yesterday because he's like, we're going to get the dust. I go, really? Says who? What do you mean? We're going to get the dust. That is so embedded in these mountains. I don't believe us, even the Israelis, know where all of it is. And there's no way in a billion years, even with the promise of money, that Iran's going to give it up. So if this is all about the dust and all about their nuclear program, you got to be a moron to think that Iran is going to give it up. And if they don't give it up, according to Trump, then it's a loss. No?
Well, so the big caveat, you're absolutely right about what you're saying, what's in the four corners of the deal. I don't think we're getting any major nuclear concessions and further negotiations in 60 days. It'll just be extended and extended and extended. So I think a lot of the sanctions relief won't happen and we won't get concessions. But the big thing that has happened, and is totally different from last year, is their nuclear program and infrastructure has been destroyed. If they want to start right now, they can't. So that's a major accomplishment that even people most distressed by this deal should.
Well, hold on. When you say destroyed, I hope you're right, because I fought for President Trump when he said that was the case after Midnight Hammer. Well, before Operation Epic Fury, I said he's right. So are you telling me that right now they're not able to enrich uranium? Because if they can do that, then they are still on the way to making nuclear bombs.
I don't think they can. I think the centrifuges have been destroyed. These things are so delicate.
Yeah.
You just hit a bomb near them, it puts them out of commission. So I don't think they're going to reconstitute as quickly as they can, if they can. But I think today they just couldn't do it.
But what do you think they're going to be doing for the next 60 to 90 days while we have these ridiculous negotiations? No disrespect to Kushner or Witkoff or Trump or Vance, but these negotiations have gone nowhere. And if they end up with a signature on a piece of paper, ask Barack Obama and John Kerry how that went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think you look at this, and if this all were to happen, they'd make various assurances, we give them major sanctions relief and all that. It is a version of the JCPOA, but again, the difference is we bombed the hell out of them. We bombed the hell out of their program, and we set it back significantly. So I think that's the core achievement of what Trump did. That's what no one else did or was going to do.
Right.
I think this deal is disappointing. I think having Lebanon in there is ridiculous. That's a diplomatic victory for Iran. I don't think that's going to hold.
Hold on. Now that you mentioned Lebanon, President Trump has been over the top and very disappointing. This is coming from me. You know how much I love him.
Sure.
And I think he still loves me. He may not after this, but he's been very disappointing in his criticism of Bibi. Now, I had a conversation with a buddy yesterday. He said, Sid, here's what I think. And I think he's right. Trump got sick and tired of hearing from all his detractors, this is Bibi's war. You saw the memes. They were everywhere of Bibi walking Trump on a leash. You heard people, even in this city like Curtis, say, this isn't America's war, it's Bibi's war. They've been saying that all over the world. Your friend Megyn Kelly says it. Tucker Carlson says it. All these people say it. And you know Trump. He doesn't like to play second fiddle to anyone. So he's taken this to heart, and now he feels like he's got to bash the living daylights out of Bibi, hoping Bibi will understand to prove his dominance and show that it's his war, he's in charge, and not Bibi. Now, this goes directly to the core of Trump's ego. What do you think about that?
Maybe. I'm sure he hates hearing that, but to me it looks a little bit like a larger version of what happened with Midnight Hammer. We go in with the Israelis in effect, join an Israeli bombing campaign, which we'd never done before, and then by the end, when Trump wants it to end, he's saying Bibi doesn't know what the F he's doing, like in public. So this has been bigger and harsher than that, but I think it's just a similar dynamic. He was desperate for the deal. He didn't want anything to upset it. The Iranians were saying, well, we're not signing unless they stop bombing Hezbollah, and then so then Trump called them on the carpet. So,
but why should Israel stop bombing Hezbollah? I keep making this analogy, but it's true. If some terrorist group arrived in Cincinnati at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning on a holiday and started raping and murdering Americans, what do you think Trump's response would be? Or if after that they started bombing on a regular basis like they do now, Brooklyn or Sacramento.
Totally.
I mean, it's very easy for Trump to sit there and tell Bibi to take it up the ass because, truth be told, Trump's country, at least at this point, is not in danger. I don't think Trump is being fair. Bibi is trying to protect Israel from a group that is out to destroy him and continues to bomb Israel all the time. So what? So Bibi comes back harder? Doesn't President Trump do that?
Yeah. I totally agree. No.
And by the way, have you heard President Trump come out and say anything nasty about Erdogan or Mamdani? No, he goes out of his way to compliment Mamdani, Erdogan. Yesterday, he talked about the Iranian regime, the new one, and he said they're smart and a pleasure to deal with. So, the worst people in the world get complimented by Trump. He never attacks, any Arab leaders. But Bibi's a bad guy?
Yeah, totally agree. No society would tolerate what Israel is supposed to put up with terror groups to the north and the south that have hit Israel routinely. You know, if there's a terrorist group embedded in Michigan shelling Canada and making people leave from certain parts of Canada, Canada would freak out and bomb the hell out of Michigan. You know, any society would do that. So I totally agree with you. This is bad. And, you know, it's also it's just not in Trump's nature to say, you know what, this is the best we could get. It's not a great deal. These people are awful. I want them to go away, but this is what we had to do, right? It always has to be the greatest deal ever. So he started the war out over-optimistic because that's the way he is, and now he's over-optimistic about the peace deal. And he may be different 3 months from now because that's also the way he is.
Well, he's got to win the midterm. So, and look, I was overly optimistic. I thought Epic Fury was great. I was all for going into Iran, but I want to finish. Well, Sid, that's easy for you to say. Your son is not in the military. That's true. My heart goes out to parents whose kids are fighting every day. They're brave, courageous, beautiful people. But they signed up. Last I checked, there is no draft, okay? And if you're going to start a war, which President Trump did, and I'm okay with it. In fact, I was happy with it. He was the first president to do something about it after every other one promised they would. He did it. Way to go, President Trump. You get an A+. But if you're going to start it, finish it. Is that asking so much?
Well, I mean, the problem is, part of the original sin here, he made no public case for the war. He didn't go and get congressional authorization, and was unpopular from the start. So he's kind of limited politically. If you want to finish it, what does that mean? Are you going to end the regime? I mean, it's absolutely in our power to end the regime, but you'd have to send a couple divisions into Tehran.
So? I don't understand. And you got to send people, got to send boots on the ground, too, to really get inside the spots where they're enriching uranium. You can't take it out from the air. So, you know, he knows that he's got to put boots on the ground to get it. He's expecting Iran to give it to us, which is so ridiculous. It's never going to happen. Even if they do, they'll give us just a little bit, just to make us happy.
I think the absolute red line for him, he was not putting guys on the ground and potentially losing
guys.
Then
you shouldn't have started this, because all you've done then the last couple of months, honestly, is waste time, a lot of money. Americans died, Israelis died, and all we're doing is putting things right back where they were before. Yes, the bombings did destroy their infrastructure. It did limit their nuclear capabilities, all that. But the truth is, we did not accomplish any of the major things we wanted to, did we?
Yeah, well, if you're going to go on the ground, though, you had to make a case for that ahead of time. You just can't do it kind of on a whim the way he did. So I think that's pretty close to the original sin of this thing. Again, I think it's a big achievement to have done what we did to the nuclear program, but I wouldn't have done this campaign the way he did. I don't think he'd do it this way in retrospect. And I think actually said the big thing, even though I supported it at the time, I thought it was great, was killing the Ayatollah. Because once you've done that, you've signaled to the Iranians, this is existential. You better do everything possible you can to make this as painful as possible for us and survive. So they closed the strait. Whereas the 12-day war, they didn't close the strait because they didn't think it was existential. So if you needed to wipe out some more manufacturing stuff or nuclear stuff, just signal to them, this is like the 12-day war, guys. Don't worry, we're not killing your leaders. But if you close the strait, we will. And then maybe they don't close the strait and this whole thing looks different.
I think we underestimated the Iranians. I think they really thought, Trump and the folks, that they would just get unconditional surrender, because that's how this thing started. Mm-hmm. People forget already. It didn't start with, well, if you open the strait and if you're nice. No, it started with unconditional surrender. And I really think Trump and his people thought they were going to get that. They wiped out 40 guys day one. They're bombing all over the place. They were never going to get that. These animals don't care. They don't care. Well, they're starving the people. They don't care.
Yeah, they're happy for the Iranians to eat grass. So it doesn't matter how much economic pressure you put on. They don't care. Right. They're willing to gun down 40,000 of them. They're willing to.
How come I know all this? I'm just a dopey radio host. How come I know all this? I'm not in the situation rooms. I'm not sitting there with all these people, including the president. How come you know this, Rich Lowry, and people sitting in D.C. didn't know this? I mean, come on.
Because you're not sitting in the big chair. You weren't in the situation room when you took this enormous risk to go into Venezuela and get Maduro out, and it worked brilliantly.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the difference is Venezuela is the size of Brooklyn, and Iran's got 90 million people.
It's true. someone comes in, tells you, you know what, we can kill the Ayatollah like in 2 hours if you go now.
Yeah,
you'd be tempted. I understand why I took that shot. I don't think, in retrospect, we should have taken that shot.
I would have done it. No, I'd be more than tempted. I would have done it, but I would have put, and I hate to say this to the families of our military, I would have put boots on the ground. I'd have them inside those uranium chambers as we speak, and whatever else has to be done. I know it's terrible. I know it is. But what the hell do you think war is? What kind of war is this? Just bomb a bunch of people and then call it quits? Come on.
Well, again, if you're going to do that, you got to tell the public.
Don't tell them.
That's what you're going to do.
And you're right. They never would have gotten any congressional approval. I understand that. There's even members of Congress right now that didn't want the war to start with, and now they're mad about the deal. I mean, are you upset that tomorrow's Thursday, but we may have to wait until Friday to see the actual details?
I actually am. I think it's kind of ridiculous. We should know what it is. You know, if it's been agreed, print the thing. Now, I think we've seen it. It seems as though we've seen it. You know, reputable outlets have said that this is what it is, but it's ridiculous that we don't know what it is.
I kind of agree too. But I'm going to end this conversation, which was great. You're so great at this. You know you are. And I love you to pieces, with J.D. Vance and Megan talking about just that, about why don't we know what's in the deal? You know, it's Wednesday. So you are amazing as always, Rich Lowry. I love you. Thank you so much. We'll do this again in 2 weeks.
Enjoy it over there.
Thank you, buddy. I will.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?